What's on the menu for Robinson's Crusade
I
this
think
morning?
we have to lead with the utter degeneracy that is our government, don't we? What is going on, honestly? Years and years ago, parliamentarians had honor, wisdom, leadership, and now what do they have? I don't know, but people are getting upset about Matt Hancock for a lot of reasons, but most people don't care about the fact that he's cheating on his wife, and the woman he's cheating with is cheating on her husband. Like, no one cares about the utter degeneracy of having affairs anymore. That's the state of current affairs. And I think, what do you expect, Cristo, when you've got a prime minister that we don't even know how many children he has? That's how far we've come. Sad, isn't it, really?
It's sad that you can't. Usually, the prime minister is the one that's sort of holding together the moral fibre within a government. But when you've
Yeah.
got a government, when you've got someone like Matt Hancock, and he's not even the worst in government because inevitably Boris Johnson has done something worse. How can he possibly fire Matt Hancock? There's no way he can.
Not for that issue. And family values are long gone. I'm going to keep fighting for them. But on the issue of Matt Hancock lecturing us, dictating to us to stick to these horrible, horrible guidelines, people have literally had to witness their grandparents behind screens and not be able to hug their grandparents before they died in locked away in care homes. And Matt Hancock is there getting it away with his aide, just flouting the rules with without a care for anyone else, and at the same time dictating to us that you must not kill Granny. I find the whole thing disgusting. For that alone, he should be fired. Never mind the affair, just breaking his own rules. When Neil Ferguson broke the rules, Matt Hancock got on television and said, "Oh, if it was me, I would have resigned." Well, you should have resigned. You
Yeah.
have done it. It's been over 24 hours now. We're into the second day of, or the third morning of this. Why has either Boris not sacked him or Matt Hancock not resigned?
I
don't
get
understand.
well, it's just the fact that the rules are now a farce, and that's the problem. That is where I just don't see how anyone can consider following them as a result of looking at this. When you've got the health secretary during a health crisis not following those rules, I don't know how anyone else in the public now can look at them and take them seriously.
Well, maybe that's a good thing, Cristo. Maybe the rules have been undermined so far now that we actually should stand up and say, no, enough is enough. No more masks, no more social distancing with your loved ones. Hug your granny if you want to, hug your family members, spend time with those that you love. Don't listen to the health secretary because he doesn't listen to himself.
But he clearly is sneering at all of us, and if he hasn't even got the courtesy to resign. But we must move on because I know that you were really interested in the story regarding what we were discussing in the last hour and how we just don't seem to have discussions anymore. And I think actually it's fair to say both sides are quite bad on this. But someone who has suffered as a result of this, whether we call it cancel culture, whether we call it intolerance, whatever we call it, is Winston Marshall from Mumford and Sons, who made the cardinal error of reading, enjoying, and saying that he found the author of a book quite brave that was exposing elements of Antifa, the far left movement. And it's just, I don't know what we've become as a society. He's now had to quit his career.
I know. So Andy and Winston are both very good friends of mine, so I've stayed away from this topic, but I'll talk around it because it's the issue of the woke cancel mob. It's this idea that you express an opinion online, and if it's not one that's in the list of approved opinions, you get cancelled. And that's essentially what's happening all over. And it's not just celebrities, it's happening to normal people, and they're losing their livelihoods because people are jumping on a bandwagon saying you are an evil person. It's like, wait a minute, they just expressed a view. Was it even that evil anyway, or was it just something you disagree with? And we need to get to a point where we can have conversations again, like you're saying, just debate these things. So is this a good book? Is it not a good book? Why do you think that? Let's talk it out. Let's not suddenly take away someone's way of earning a living just
Also, he
because you don't like it.
apologised. He said, "Look, I'm really sorry that some of you have said that this is a really controversial book. I hadn't realised that. Really sorry for those people who I didn't realise." And I just, it makes me really sad. It makes me genuinely really sad that you can't just say now, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry. I hadn't considered that point. Yeah, I'll take it on board." That's not enough anymore.
Absolutely. And I've talked about this many times before with you, but forgiveness is dead and there's no redemption. There's no way to move back from it. If you do apologize for something, there's no way to regain people's trust because they're done with you. They've written you off and they've cancelled you. And that tells you more about them than it does you. I think there's a strength in apologizing when you believe you've done something wrong. You should never apologize when you haven't done something wrong, mind. But if you do apologize, you should be forgiven. If you're not forgiven, that says more about that person than it does yourself.
But it also defeats the whole object, because you've got to shout at someone and say to them, look, you're wrong, you didn't consider that. Surely the response you should be looking for is for them to say, well, actually, yeah, okay, God, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Thanks. I hadn't considered that. Sorry if I didn't realise that before. But that's not enough now. And both sides, I think, are getting a bit guilty of this. But
absolutely.
I think that we're moving into really difficult territory. And you and I have spoken about this word a lot before, nuance. Yeah. There's just no nuance. And I think social media doesn't help, but you are just condemned. You're condemned. Yeah. You've said the wrong thing. You are condemned.
And again, I don't want to make it specific about Winston, but because he is one of the kindest, he's one of the best people I know.
You know him a little bit, don't you?
But he's a good friend, so I don't want to make it personal. But the issue I want to address is that both sides are just as bad, what you just raised. So when someone gets attacked by the left, by the hard left, and people try to cancel them, if they do apologize, whether they should have or not, people on the right will attack them for the apology. And then you get people from both sides attacking. And instead, we should try to rise above that nasty cancel culture and say, okay, why has this person felt the need to apologize? Surely we're not standing up for them strong enough, or we're not making it a safe enough zone for them to have their own opinions and express what they think without the fear of the woke mob. So we cannot become the woke mob. We have to be better than the woke mob. Yeah. And that's what I didn't see around this particular issue and many issues like it.
I absolutely agree. And this, I don't know when people's families became involved in all of this as well, and going after their friends and going after people that they know. It's just absolutely gone completely insane. You also have made a note of some of the hypocrisy this week between UEFA and what is political and what isn't, and this danger now with sport by sort of saying that Black Lives Matter is okay. You've got to really open it up now to every single movement saying that they want some sort of recognition at these sporting events.
Absolutely. So we're seeing, obviously the LGBT plus lobby wanting to see recognition, but also the anti-LGBT lobby wanting to see recognition in the football game. And you can't have both, can you? Or can you? That's the question. And to me, it comes down to, why are we politicizing the sport in the first place? And this is the problem. We've allowed it with Black Lives Matter. We've allowed it with taking the knee. So now it has to be allowed across the board, or not at all. You can't pick and choose which political lobbies you allow to have a say in your game if you're going to let someone do it.
I don't mind them clamping down and saying, look, you can't have anti-LGBT banners in the stadium.
Why?
Because I don't think you'd have someone holding up a racist banner. I don't think you'd have someone holding up a sexist banner. I don't think you should have someone holding up a banner that could be construed as homophobic. I don't think those sorts of messages should be on banners at all. I don't think any of them should be. I'm not saying you should pick and choose any. However, you have to make up your mind. I mean, do you disagree with that, by the way?
Yeah, I do. I think either all is allowed or none is allowed. I don't like this idea that
No, I'd say none should be allowed. No hateful banners should be able to be held up in a stadium. I shouldn't be able to go in and hold up a racist banner.
Hateful, Cristo?
Well, if you're saying that someone should not have, I don't know, equality, or not should or being insulting towards a minority of people, I don't think you should be allowed that banner up in a stadium. I don't think but any banner like that.
What if they're promoting their particular, hardcore religious views, and that goes against it?
Well, again, it depends on the motivation for that, which is why I think you should just ban all of it. That's why I think you should just ban all of it. You should have football banners in stadiums. Those are the banners you should have in stadiums. I don't think you should have banners with any other sorts of messages in.
Because it's quite easy to say, well, of course everyone agrees with this. Of course this is a progressive banner. We'll allow that one. But there are going to be people that are offended, and people that don't see it as common sense, people that don't see it as something they want to align to when they go to watch a sport. So this is why we shouldn't allow any of these political organizations to lobby within the game. If footballers want to take on deals outside of the match, fine. Likewise, if fans want to campaign for certain causes in their own time, fine. But when you go and you pay good money to sit in that stadium and watch a game, you're playing to get entertained, and you're playing to watch the game. You're not playing to be lectured. You're not paying to be lectured by any.
But I think they've backed themselves into a bit of a corner, because you can't then say, I mean, this is where I find UEFA ridiculous, because they say, well, sorry, you can't have the stadium in pride colours because it's a political response to Hungary, but you can have the Black Lives Matter situation. Personally, I think you either allow both or you allow neither. You can't say that one is and one isn't, because that is a contradiction.
Well, they're not being consistent. UEFA have changed their logo now and put the Pride rainbow in the logo. So either it is okay or it's not okay. It doesn't make any sense.
And this is right. And this is a football association, of course, and then there's the FIFA, who, of course, I don't know if FIFA have changed their logo, but are they hosting it in Qatar?
Right, and would they get away with hosting that in Qatar? Indeed, this is the issue, isn't it? And this is what happens every time there is a woke bandwagon. We see all these companies changing their logos, putting the rainbow flag in there or the black fist in there, whichever cause it is, except for in the Middle East. They don't do it over there, do they? Because they know people over there won't stand for it.
I loathe that.
Which says that they don't care about the values. What they care about is the bandwagon. They care about the virtue signaling and the publicity. They don't care about standing up for gay rights or black rights or whatever it is that they're saying they're campaigning for. That's a lie. Otherwise, they would do it across the board.
Yeah, because they won't want to actually affect their sales. I mean, I'd have actually some respect for them if they're right. We're going to do the Pride in a Middle Eastern country because we are prepared to affect our sales for standing up for what we think is right. But they won't do that, of course. They'll do it after the rights have been won already as a result of other people sticking their neck out. And that's what I find repugnant. Talking of repugnant, now, Calvin, you just messaged me because you've now had a chance to look at the Matt Hancock video, haven't you? Which we might play a little bit while you discuss it, Calvin, because it's a lovely video, isn't it? And
a lovely video, Cristo. What this is disgusting. Look at checking out. Is anyone coming? Oh no. And then he pins himself against the door. He's so flipping creepy. This is disgusting, honestly. And look at this. Oh, no one needs to see it. I haven't had my breakfast yet, Cristo. Yes. Nobody needs to see this. It's gross.
This will keep you not eating for at least another 2 hours. Your waistline will be brilliant as a result of this, Calvin.
But what I want to know is who filmed this, or who got this footage, or who leaked this footage, because that looks like a camera within the office, doesn't it? That's suspect to me. And that tells me either there's a campaign against Matt Hancock, or maybe he's leaking this footage. So he goes down for, being a bit of a lad, rather than going down for all the atrocities over lockdown and the pandemic that he's caused with care homes and things like that. Maybe he just wants to go down for something that he can control. It's
the smug look he gives to this poor woman after he's kissed her. That's what I can't get it's so disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
This is pre-watershed. Are you allowed to show that?
We are allowed to show that as a contraceptive method, because now no one is going to go near each other for the entire rest of the day, Calvin, which is brilliant.
Can I just say once again, we need to fight for family values, because both of those people are married and no one's discussing that, and they're all saying, oh yeah, but he's not social distancing, etc. Who cares about the social distancing? He's a married man. That's not
I made that point at the start of the show. I think it actually is relevant, because when you elect someone based on them telling the truth and making promises, well, if they're not keeping the promises to the people who are closest to them, to me that shows a complete lack of moral fibre. So it is relevant, and of course it makes the rules a bit of a farce, and you're, along with Julia Hartley-Brewer and others, going to be marching for that today.
Oh gosh, yeah. So Julia and I were drinking way too late last night, if you can tell by my voice, a bit groggy today, but we're going to be out on the march. You can see Julia and I on a bus campaigning and filming from 1 p.m. I think it's going to be on Reform TV, but we'll be out there with the people marching for our freedoms, because it's about time. And you know what? People are saying enough is enough, and people that don't normally protest, people that don't normally go to marches, will be out there today in London marching for our freedom, to get our liberties returned to us.
Do you think that we're going to see other media talking about this?
I actually think we will this time. I think, the last ones they've tried to keep quiet, but this one is going to be so big, and there's going to be so many people talking about it. And now we've got, you guys have been reporting on it. We've also got GB News who are going to be reporting on it. So people like BBC and Sky are going to feel pressured into reporting on the issue, because there are going to be so many people that are standing up for their liberties. It's difficult not to have that conversation.
Like I said, I think they should just, if they want to disperse the crowds, just put that video on a big screen, and everyone will go home. It's the way, if anyone's against that march, it's the way to get everyone to go home. Calvin Robinson, good luck today, and thank you for taking the time this morning with your crusade for common sense. That's Calvin Robinson's crusade this morning